Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to beautiful Montreal, Quebec for round number 9 of the Sox Out Racing V8 SuperTrucks World Championship. We're at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve today, and the beautiful circuit known for its historic races and historic battles. And you're going to see it from green flag to checker flag for the round here on RaceSpot TV, as well as on social media for Sox Out Racing. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside in the booth today is Paul Smith for what should be a great race for the night, for what is going to be a very challenging race for these drivers. We'll have TV cameras provided by Esteban Baulu from Track Cams 22 for today's action. But the season is slowly but surely heading toward its dramatic conclusion, and the best drivers in the championship are looking to secure themselves some big-time points with how close things are starting to shape out in the picture. On the left side of your screen is the championship standings with Spen Cameras in the lead by just 13 points entering today's races. Bobby Zielinski comes in second, with Dallas Pataska, the red-hot rookie, in third. Eric Blix and Tom O'Leary round out the top 5, with David Williams and Paul Savlanek in the top 7. Monica Paul, Aaron Smith II, and James Kane with a new team round out the top 10 in the point standings entering today's races. But of course, a lot of these drivers are not just racing for the drivers, but for their teams themselves to try and earn them some bragging rights. Radical's Online Turn Racing is on top of the point standings with 531 points, followed by Veras Glenn Sim Sport. They're followed by Radical's Online JRT with Lempals Racing and Illusion Motorsport, who have now backed out of the championship as of this round, currently in 5th position. Go Team Racing comes in 6th with Smith Esports, RSR Esports Red, Buck Jones Racing, and RSR Esports White, rounding out the 10 teams that have made starts in 2019. As well, there is the Regions Championship for drivers where they're coming from in terms of their country represented. Currently, the United States is on top of the standings with 528 points. That is 56 ahead of the United Kingdom. Belgium, Australia, Sweden, Canada, and the Czech Republic have also been represented in the campaign so far, with things starting to head towards the final rounds of the campaign. Drivers are also fighting for the Manufacturers Championship. The leader in the Manufacturers Cup so far has been the Toyotas with 558 points entering today. Chevrolet, meanwhile, comes in with 499 points. The question is, who's going to come up on top in that championship in the final few rounds of the season? But as you can see, it's a nice, beautiful day as we take a look towards the AccuWeather Minutecast for today's action here at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Again, today's weather forecast presented by AccuWeather, the official weather service of the V8 SuperTrucks World Championship. Today's weather conditions: partly cloudy skies for the 2.71 mile circuit with 91 degrees Fahrenheit, the track temp before the green flag today. Humidity is at 52%. But a fairly windy day so far. 13 miles per hour, 21 kilometer winds at the moment, facing their way out towards the far side of the road course between turns 7 and 8 towards that part of the straightaways. But other than that, a near picture perfect day for racing here, Paul. It's going to be a fairly cool track for the start of this one, and 23 laps is the distance these drivers are going to have to tackle here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Yeah, this is one of those iconic circuits in all of motorsport. It's one of my favourite tracks from North America, and certainly this Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, it really is a fantastic venue. Of course, it's got the Olympic rowing course alongside it as well. So definitely a lot of history involved in this venue, and of course a venue in which Gilles Villeneuve himself won at on the first ever Canadian Grand Prix held here. So there's a lot of history associated with this course, and having these trucks going around here is certainly going to be spectacular.
It's going to be absolutely spectacular. The first time Sox Out Racing has brought any other drivers to the track since 2016 when they had an Xfinity Series car race here. But here is the qualifying standings. 9 drivers are taking times out of the expected 11 that are 11 to 12 expected to take the green flag today. Sven Kamers is at the top of the board with a 135.425, with Bobby Zelensky, Eric Blix, Thomas O'Leary, and James Keenan rounding out the top 5. Martika Paul, Paul Slavanik, Chase Berry, and Danny Sullivan have also recorded times. Should note Stephen Dager Jr., Aaron Smith II, and Andrew Karen have not put in times. Karen not allowed to qualify, though, due to reaching the safety point limit. He is going to have to start at the rear of the grid.
Yeah, and that's where the how this championship organises its stewarding process and having an instant limit built into the actual series. It really does affect you in this championship. It certainly does, and it really is an interesting way to approach driving standards, and we've seen multiple different ways of running driving standards in different series that we've broadcast on Racesport TV over the years. So this is how Socks Out Racing do it, and it's definitely something that seems to be working well for them this season long. And maybe he could be a contender for the Hard Charger Award as well, because we've got that here as well.
I was about to get to that. In fact, of course, the last round that was completed, round 7 in total, was David Williams, who took the Hard Charger Award for VOS Coenda Sim Sport. The Hard Charger Award, of course, is essentially the driver who makes up the most positions. It can be someone that has a recovery drive from an early incident, or in the case of what could be for Karen, a chance to go from the back all the way up towards the front. The winner gets $5 in iRacing credits. In the event that 2 drivers tie, then both drivers will get that said award here. It's been interesting to see who gets that. Again, it's the greatest positive change in position, over the course of a race, who also finishes in the top 10, who would be eligible for the award. But this is also a track that could have a lot of challenges. Take a look at Stephen Dager Jr. as he gets ready now for some qualifying laps here. This is a track, again, that has a few different passing opportunities, yes, but a lot of danger zones, so to speak, including drivers having to use those curbs in 13 and 14 and go 45-degree angles on the edges of their tires to be able to carry as much speed as they can towards the start and finish line today.
Absolutely, this is a circuit where you've got a lot of hard braking zones, as Stephen is finding out right there for himself, into the what is the 3rd chicane here on this track. 4 chicanes in total here on this particular venue, and you've got a lot of hard braking zones. Here's another one down into the hairpin. This is a good opportunity to either make the move into the corner or try and get the run out of the corner, because he carries so much speed at that hairpin down the back straightaway into the hard braking zone for the final chicane. We've got the wall of champions to look out for as well. These drivers will be hoping not to meet their demise on that wall, but this is the thing, it's almost like a street circuit with the way that the walls are so close into the side of the track.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, really. Remember, this is essentially the island that originally had some of the expo complexes from the 1960s and 70s, as well as had some again, that was part of Expo 67 specifically. And this was originally as part of a park here in the Notre Dame Island, and which was, again, a man-made island made for Expo 67, and also what had the Olympic Basin created for the rowing and canoeing events here at the circuit. So it essentially is technically one where you're racing around what was originally a park that is also now a racetrack that just so happens to also host the Formula One's Canadian Grand Prix.
Absolutely, you can see on the right hand side of your screen there as well, it's just gone away from that shot, but you could see the Olympic rowing venue, and these drivers, they won't get to see that, but it's certainly it's a unique venue as this, and it's one that provides great challenges. And these drivers, they'll know that they've been in for a hard time in this race, and of course, tyre strategy is going to come into play as well, because you've got that mandatory pit stop that you've got to make. You've got to change tyres. 23 lap race, 90 degrees track temperature. It should be okay. We've not thought the hottest we've seen on track surface, but definitely it's going to be a challenge for these drivers.
And don't forget, there's already been a few drivers that have already locked in a championship license for the rest of the season, but are also looking to do so for 2020 potentially. Eric Boyk, Sven Kammertz, James Kane, Bobby Zalenski are the drivers that have earned that license. That essentially locks them into the grid for the remainder of the 2019 season, Paul.
Yeah, and going forward, these drivers will want to be in the series going forward and see themselves locked in for a position in the championship next year when it comes around. But we're nearly at the end of this season. We've still got a few rounds to go, and of course, there's no drop scores left now with the championship. But with that, let's get to the grid.
Yes, indeed, because it's going to be a competitive race, with Sven Kammertz leading them to the green flag today for Radicals Online. Bobby Zalenski will start on the outside of the front row for Guento Simsport, with Eric Blixt and Thomas O'Leary rounding out the top four starting positions. James Kane is a part of a new organization today. The former privateer driver will start in 5th position. We'll get to that in a second, with Martika Paul starting in 6th for Lempos Racing. Paul Sylvanik and Chase Berry round out the top 8 starting positions, with Danny Sowell being the last driver to record a time. The rest of the grid will feature Karen, Smith II, and Dagger Jr. finishing off a 12-truck field today here in beautiful Quebec. And the drivers now getting ready on the grid here, Paul. We've already talking about a bit of some of the difficulties some of these drivers are going to have to face here. What else are you expecting for today? Again, 23 laps the distance as we referred to already. And of course, they do have to have a mandatory tire pit stop in this event.
Yes, tire management is going to be one issue for these drivers. Also, not outbraking themselves into these various braking zones. And then finally, keeping the trucks out the wall. It's important to keep it a nice, clean, straight truck there to have the best possible speed and not pick up any damage. So that's going to be crucial here in this race. But certainly these drivers have not got a long pacing. It's only basically the last quarter of the lap that they've got to pace here, so we'll be getting ready for that. In fact, everybody, we lost Thomas O'Leary just briefly then. I thought we were about ready for a start then. In fact, we're going to be going away, so Sven Kammertz then on pole position. What can he do? He's got a chance of finally getting hold of the championship.
A great chance for Kammertz, who was the fastest car in practice and of course on top in qualifying. And he's about to bring them to the green flag on the left side of the track. Bobby Zalenski will start on the right side as they get ready for the green flag. Drivers can follow along with James Kane with onboards at twitch.tv/James Kane O. He'll be towards the top 5 for the green flag today. Kammertz comes out of the final corner, waits for the green flag, bunches up all the trucks as we get ready for Sox Out Racing V8 SuperTrucks action. The green flag is out. Round 9 is underway for Montreal. And a great launch for the man on the outside line, Bobby Zalenski. But they're charging hard into turn 1 and 2 for the quick left and the hard sweeping right-hander. Zalenski quickly takes the race lead.
Oh, that was decisive. That was absolutely decisive. He needed to do that as soon as possible, did Bobby. And that's exactly what he did. He now needs to try and either break away at the front or control the pace to look after his tyres. It's going to be difficult here. Everyone running and still running in this race as they've gone on single file. Really good start there, and interesting to see these two at the front pulling away, and Bobby Zalenski getting the tail out. In fact, a few drivers having issues with the tail.
Yeah, a couple drivers getting really loose on corner exit into sector 2 that time as they work their way through corners 8 and 9. Drivers have already been warned much more earlier the braking location compared to what many drivers may expect. That's what led to a lot of cars going in the grass and qualifying in practice. But as they go into left angle, they're going to have to go down the Casino Straight, which again is a great place to try and draft down before you charge down into the turns 13 and 14. Kammertz trying to keep within that draft in second spot.
Yeah, he is. He's got to keep that draft and utilise what he can of that draft. It's a long back straightaway, hard braking zone. These two at the front, they're already pulling away there and up on two wheels, as you mentioned in the pre-show coverage. And well, lap one, Bob Zelensky is in the lead, half a second ahead of Sven Kemert. These drivers, they're pushing hard indeed. Around goes Bobby Zelensky.
Contact in the back bumpers, the caution flag is thrown, and the field is now going to have to catch up to the pace car. Take a look at this on the Race Spot TV replay, and this was a strong dive behind from Sven Kammertz with confidence, but just tapped that right rear bumper and sends around Zelensky all the way back to 10th position.
Look at it again from on board. Look at it from the roll bar of Sven. He's the leader from this, but the stewards will have a look at that afterwards, after the racing. There is a gap, but there isn't a gap, and he just tags Bobby there. Around it goes, and with this truck, with it being so light at the rear, it's so easy with the weight transfer as well to just see that truck go around us. We'll take one more look, this time from above, and see what happened again into turn two. It is a typical turn two incident around here, and there it goes. There goes Sven, and there goes the rest of the field. Bobby Zelensky all the way down to the back.
And that's going to lose a lot of track position, as that also went on with the incident during the first lap. By the way, Stephen Dager Jr. also went into the garage area because heading into turn 10, trying to downshift, he ended up over-revving the engine and destroying his truck. That blew the motor. You can see that right there after he pinged off the wall. The money shift ends up blowing up the 62-3 truck. Doesn't even make it a lap. Will not earn any points since he didn't make it 25% of the distance.
Yeah, so we'll see it down here into the hairpin. Listen to that engine up. Lock the rears. On the downshifting, he's locked the rears. It's so easy to do with this truck as well. It really is. Last year when I did my couple of races in this series, I know how difficult that is. How easy, it is to do that, and that's exactly what's happened here. Here's something to point out here, Justin. Whilst we're behind the caution, behind the pace car, it's too early for your mandatory pit stop. But do you come in and take some fresh tyres now? As if you say Thomas O'Leary or Bobby Zelensky, who are both at the back of the field, and go for a charge, and then do your mandatory pit stop during the race?
That's actually a curious thing, and I was actually going to mention O'Leary here, Paul, because he missed the start, remember. He is a lap down right now in that 12th position and was basically a lap and a half behind everyone else to take the green flag, so to speak. This would gain him one spot with Dager Jr. now already out, and depending on how they cycle things around, this might give him a chance to be back in the conversation for the race if he's allowed on the lead lap. That's the big if, though.
Yeah, I mean, really, Thomas, he's just got to hope that other incidents happen and that other drivers get caught up in things. But this caution period will be helping these drivers with their tyre life here, and we'll see how we go. And really, it's going to be interesting how it goes, how this extends the tyre life. And really, we'll see drivers at the end of the race with a shorter final stint really pushing those tyres to the limit.
Now, to clarify one thing, though, before we continue on here, your drivers have just been told to clarify they cannot pit for tires. They can only repair damage under this yellow flag. The mandatory pit window opens on lap 8 and goes all the way to lap 16. So nobody can take tires if they come down to even take advantage of this early yellow for a couple lap difference. They can only get the damage repaired. Also, for drivers and fans alike, or teams alike that want to keep up with your favorite drivers, be sure to go to RaceSpot TV/timing to follow along with the live timing and scoring for today's event. But the one driver that is taking advantage of the damage repair seems to be Bobby Zelensky. Aaron Smith II has also decided to duck his way down the lane as O'Leary will go back onto the lead lap.
Yeah, so I mean, Zelensky, you can say he'll have damage to repair there from the first incident. I don't see a lot of. Oh no, it's slightly bent. Is the right rear of the truck, so he's getting repairs done, and no tyres. So he's just getting that repair done, as you mentioned, and away he goes again. So drivers getting their pit stops done there for two of them. Aaron Smith II and also Bob Zelensky. And maybe this is where we're going to see the hard charger coming through. But speaking of hard charger, it's Andrew Carron, who started towards the rear of the field, who started at 10th, already up to 7th place.
Yeah, wasn't allowed to qualify. He's already gained 3 spots. And that was involving passes involving Barry, Smith II, and of course Zelensky with his incident here. So he's off to a good start. They're on to 1 to go, by the way, for the drivers as they work their way through turn 8. The worry, though, is Thomas O'Leary's got to catch up 3/4 of a lap in the span of the next minute or so to be able to catch up to the back of this train. He's all the way in turn 10. Now, while the leaders are all the way still just coming out of turn 9.
Yeah, but it's the fact that he's on the lead lap now. If there's enough caution, and there could well be around this track, then you could see him tagging onto the back of this field, and then, well, all bets are off. Anything could happen for him. So I wouldn't count him out of a good result here today. It all depends on if there are further cautions, but the lights are out on that Porsche safety car. And you'll see that car diving off to the left-hand side for the pit road. And it was Sven Kemmert take command ahead of Montréal and Eric Bliss. Interesting to see how the two teammates work together here in trying to put pressure on Sven.
I'm curious to see how James King does too. He's in 4th position at line, as mentioned at the top of the broadcast. He's part of a new team. He joined Simplex Racing prior to round number 9, so he's looking to have a good performance for his new race team here in the V8 SuperTrucks World Championship. But the pace car is off the racetrack. We'll restart things on lap number 5 with 19 laps to go. Cameron's in control of the field, bunches them up, single file. Green flags up on the stand. We're back to racing in Montreal. And a clean start for Cameron's at the front. A dive from behind for Capaldo, who started all the way in 6th position and is looking to gain ground now. And the Radicals on line trucking right in front of him.
Yeah. Sven pulling away already at the front of Zelensky, making moves, making money moves here in this race as we're on board with Capal. And look at Sven, already a second ahead of the Lempels drivers. But look behind them, Bob Zelensky is a man on a mission right now, rallying outside. That doesn't always work, but he's got the inside for the next 2 corners. He is absolutely on a mission here.
Takes 1 spot away this time by for Karen. Now has to find a way to get up to 6th place Danny Solo at the start. And trying to gain up on the brakes. You can see how much confidence he's able to carry. Gains 3 truck lanes in the span of the quick left-right that time. As they work their way through turn number 10. Will Solo get them the position, or will Zelensky try the dive? Gets up to the back bumper. But is going to just cut it down to the bottom to make it side-by-side off the corner nearly.
I tell you what, though, the further through the field you go, the harder it gets to be able to gain positions. So, Bobby, he may have been able to work his way through like a hot knife through butter at the start of this lap, but now he's got to this queue of traffic that can hold their own and give it a go. He's had to back out of it because the Solo slow off the chicane.
And that time he took a little bit too much tires off the ground. Zelensky gave him some damage on the right rear as he just lets him on by for 6th position. But that will also lose Zelensky about a half a second and damage that front grille a touch. Meanwhile, back up to 2nd, Eric Blix is taking it back away from his teammate in Martin Capal in the past lap.
Yeah, we've got a driver running wide there. Oh, into the wall. That was James King. He's struggled at the exit of that corner there. And, well, here comes Zelensky now, all over the back of Paul Slavonik. They're really having to put on a defensive drive to be able to keep it up. Look at that, Zelensky sliding it out the turn. Slavonik, he's keeping an eye on King. He's at 4th place.
Yeah, Kane again made that contact coming out of turn 4, and now he's bouncing around coming out of turn 9. Has to save the truck. Here comes Slovanic along with Zelensky coming up behind on the outside line. Slovanic, though, outbraked by James Kane, while contact behind Slovanic collected by Zelensky. Zelensky stopped in the bottom of turn 10, trying to restart the engine, finally gets it fired back up and lost all his positions. Back to 10th goes Bobby.
Oh, that's the worst nightmare right there for Bobby. He wouldn't want to do that either. He stuck the nose in, round she goes. And as you mentioned, the engine cuts out. He has to get it going again. And we have got the caution out for that incident. So this is what Thomas O'Leary wanted. The field is now bunched up.
And this comes again at perfect timing for him. He was still half a track back from all of this.
Yeah, so I said that cautions can happen around here. And that's exactly what's happened here. So Thomas O'Leary could be in for a shout of a decent result here, but the way that Sven Kemerts was able to pull away from the two Lempels drivers was incredible on that opening lap from the restart. It was fantastic.
Yeah, Kemerts has been looking really quick this entire day so far. Again, was the quickest in practice, had some of the most laps in practice, fastest in qualifying, and is picking up the pace again in race trim here. And you said it yourself, he felt hungry to try and win this championship with only a few rounds to go. We'll have to see how he does here. We're on lap 7 of 23. Take a quick break. We'll go side by side. You're watching Race Spot TV here on Socks Out Racing for the V8 SuperTrucks World Championship from Montreal.
This is Jim Beaver, voice of the Lucas Oil Off-Road Racing Series. Introducing Pro 2 and Pro 4 trucks on iRacing. Game on!
Welcome back, everyone, to Race Spot TV and Socks Out Racing for more coverage of the V8 SuperTrucks World Championship, where Sven Kemerts has led every lap so far. He's in front of Eric Blix, Marnica Paul, James Kane, and Andrew Karen in the top 5 here. As you look at your top 8 runners overall, Salo, Slovanic, and Smith round out the top 8. Again, the second caution of the day came out after the second incident of the race for Bobby Zelensky. That dropped him all the way from where he was in 6th back to 10th position in this field. The caution, though, does help one driver, specifically Thomas O'Leary for Radicals Online.
Yeah, absolutely. He's caught up to the back of the field, and Thomas is right on the tail of Bobby Zelensky. He'll be wanting to follow him through here, but Bobby will be absolutely kicking himself for that incident there. He was on a determined run to try and gain all those positions up, and just unfortunate that happened and that contact was made.
Yeah, many drivers, of course, had to expect someone's going to send that nose in if that opening is there. And he's seen the opening. Sylvanek just tried to shut the door and ended up making that contact, and Zelensky couldn't get the engine fired up quick enough. Got that caution, though, to bunch back up the field. We are inside the pit window, though, as we restart for lap number 9 with Sven Kammert, Radicals Online Turn Racing, and control the field in the 66 truck. They come into turn 14 past the wall of champions as they get the green flag up at the stand. Up in the air it goes. Back to racing once again at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. And a great start again for Martin Capal. Has to back off, though, to try and not pass his teammate heading into turn 1 at Eric Blixt. Meanwhile, behind them, Andrew Caron side by side with Danny Solo for the Go Team Racing truck.
Yeah, we've said, in the past, precautions. Danny Solo has ended up in the wall. We're going to stay green here, though. But that was a big switch there for Solo. He's got considerable damage to the right-hand side. Trying to get a replay of that up on screen. Here we are, and we're on board with Solo. Gets on the power, the loud pedal too hard, and that Go Team Racing truck ends up into that unforgiving concrete barrier.
And that's severe right behind damage now on the car. You have to wonder, on the truck rather, you have to wonder if that's going to be suspension damage. Meanwhile, Thomas O'Leary elected to pit, it looks like. So something happened with Thomas O'Leary. He elected a pit at the back of the line as the pit lane is now open. He is now the first driver to come in. This was again off the restart for O'Leary.
It's a legitimate strategy. It's something that he could do here. And I wondered if somebody would try that, but towards the end of the race, his tyres will not be feeling nice at all. And he'll maybe struggle towards the end of this event here as things go on, because these drivers now in front, they've yet to pit in this race, and they're going to have fresher rubber. And with the amount of cautions that we've had as well, they're not going to have as much tyre wear, so they can last longer in this first stint.
You can see now on your screen, though, the RSR Esports red driver of Andrew Caron's just going to let Bobby Zelensky by. That is for 6th position. And trying to play things safe and race his own race, knowing the pace in the VRS Coenda SimSport truck. Against Zelensky, a world championship contender in 3 different disciplines, road, oval, as well as rallycross. As one driver tries to go for rallycrossing, it's Sylvanek who goes off the track and loses 2 spots.
So easy done there, missed his braking, and Sylvanek, he's going to slow down penalty there. It's taking an edge to serve, but he does it. And we'll have a look then on board, gets his braking run, has to cut across the grass. Luckily the barriers aren't so close there on the left hand side, and that allows the 2 trucks to go on by. Danny Solo.
Trouble. Yes, was just about to mention Danny Solo, who just went around him, was in 8th position. Again, this is second incident about 3 laps now for the 13 truck, and you can see, again, corner exit, just bobbles, and he just can't seem to save it, and that truck ends up slamming this Armco twice over.
We are still green, though. That's the crucial thing here. Speaking of green, look at this. Matt Capel has 2 spots to both James King and Bobby Zelensky here. Out the hairpin. King and Capel going side by side. It's going to be King down the inside into the final corner.
It all started with Capal out of Lapingo, where he would try to make the pass on King, pushed him and King wide, and opened up the door for Bobby Zelensky. Take a look at the replay. You can see Capal on the inside line, Zelensky watching as Capal got the pass done. Then he also pushed wide along with King, and that allowed Zelensky to make a 2-for-1 in the span of a couple corners.
That's how you work others. That's how you get that position done. That's a thinking man's overtake there. Sit behind, wait for those to have their own little fight, and then just slip on through down the inside. That is a really intelligent overtake there.
Very smart indeed, waiting for the drivers to make mistakes in front. And now instead of the drivers you see on your screen battling for, say, third, it's now 4th, 5th, and close to 6th now with Andrew Caron, about a second back from King. King is the lead driver in the group. Capallo, the second driver in this grouping, with Caron now getting inside the draft of the Lempos racing truck. You see them just in the background of the spot of this machine you see on your screen.
A little bit of damage on the front right of James King's truck. That one is slightly affecting his top speed down this back straightaway, and these two behind him will have a little bit of a draft. It's not the greatest draft in the world from this truck, but certainly these two behind will be feeling the benefits of that draft down. And in fact, King decides to pit.
King elects to take his tires now with 12 laps to go. So he's essentially split this race in half here, Paul, because it's just 23 laps. So technically we just passed the halfway point, so this might have been King's good strategy. However, technically though, this is going to be less green flag laps from the first stint compared to what he's going to have to deal with right here in this truck.
Yeah, that's it. He won't know how that feels. He stops in his pit stall. Right hand side goes up, getting his pit stop service done. Now the left hand side will go up there. As soon as the jack drops, he'll then pull away. Now in the background I could see Thomas O'Leary coming in through the final chicane. There he is coming out the final chicane. So that shows you how much he's dropped behind this group with him pitting right at the end of that caution loop.
Yeah, you can see right now James King jumping ahead of him by 12 seconds. The driver behind is Danny Sowell, by the way, who pit after he had that second incident. It is also 5 seconds back. The Delta 15-second difference, Paul, because he pit just as the pace car went in compared to when he could have pit during the green flag. 43 seconds these drivers are taking in some cases in the lane as you look at some of the battles starting to progress, including for second spot potentially.
Yeah, into the braking zone there. Yeah, that was another thing with taking that pit stop right at the end of that yellow flag caution period, is that you were doing considerably slower speed coming into the pits compared to what these drivers are doing now with them taking their pit stops. Look at the amount of curb Bob Zelensky takes on both the left and the right there. So Zelensky feels confident in that truck. These two, incredibly, are 7.7. That's right, 7.7 seconds behind Sven Kemmert. Bob Zelensky puts it right out to the wall.
Yes, Cameras is in the 136s. Everyone else, 137s on back. Only driver I should mention in the 137 club is the man in the orange and purple truck and Bobby Zelensky. So Cameras is in dominating control of this field right now. Now up to 8 seconds in front of this battle as Zelensky tries to get way behind in front of Eric Blixt. See also a bit of damage though from some of the contact he's had in this race.
Oh, it's running wide as Blixt. Now, was that a facilitated move there? Did he realise that Bobby Zelensky is not his battle and he's in for a really good result here in third place? I would have liked to see. I'm going to give him the benefit of doubt and say that he missed his braking, and that allowed Bobby to move on through there.
And it looked like a little bit of a stagger actually with the brake right before his turn in that caused a little bit of that as well. And now he's just going to follow the tire tracks of the number 83 truck. The driver for Joe Gibbs Racing for the eNASCAR Pekin and Freeze iRacing Series has to find a way to close 9 seconds. Meanwhile, Capallo and Sylvanek have ducked in this time by. They pit from 4th on back. Aaron Smith II also jumps into the lane, while a few others are trying to go for a bigger overcut.
Yeah, this is it. I mean, you've got to look at when the pit lane closes as well, because I could see a few drivers, especially Sven Kemerts is out there at the front. I could see him waiting until the very last moment to take his mandatory pit stop here in this race. So as those drivers take a service, there goes James King. So he's been able to get ahead of Kapal and Slavinik on their pit stops. Away they go then from their pit stall, and Thomas O'Leary again having to make do with what, 9th place now here in this race.
Yeah, it's been a rough one. Remember, you mentioned before he was originally on the grid, might have backed out to the last second and make a setup adjustment, but in so many cases, if all the other drivers join on the grid while you try and say, make sure you get the right setup, or say, take your qualifying tape off, you will end up missing the start. And that might be the case potentially for O'Leary now, who has had to recover to 9th position. That is still -5 from where he was originally intended to start this race today for round number 9. But 9.5 laps to go for his Radicals Online Turn Racing counterpart, though, in Sven Kemerts, who is working his way through turn 1 in still dominating fashion over Zelensky.
Yeah, absolutely. He doesn't have to push the truck. And I say that as he's just set another quick lap. It's not the fastest lap of the race, but still a 37.3. 10 seconds is the gap. 37.8 is what Bobby Zelensky has done on that last lap. So I can tell you who has been looking after the tyres a lot better, and it's this man that we're on board with right now. Chase Barry comes onto pit road as well.
And Chase Berry, who had gotten all the way up to about 4th or 5th position before he can duck down. Drivers have to come in by this time by. They were warned just last time by about the 2-lap warning. Again, pit lane window closes on lap 16 for round number 9 today. As Berry's taking his mandatory pit stop, now you see him up on the jacks. However, going to lose a lot of time. Already has been passed by O'Leary and Smith the second on the circuit.
There goes Damasolo as well, as Barry pulls away and continues in this race. We'll look now, Sven Kemerts we'll see coming on, and Paul Slavinik, he's around. I can't see because of the camera shot, so let's try and have a look at this one.
Yeah, we'll have to take a look again. That's the 88 truck, the DMG United sponsor machine. And the treacherous turn 3 strikes for the second time. This time, though, he avoids the wall. However, it took him a few seconds to get it looped back around and then restarted to get back going.
Yeah, he stalled. That's a nightmare. We saw as well the top 4 are in for their pit stop. So this is now where we'll see how these guys compare to James King. Did Sven just miss his pit stall then?
I had to double check here. He had that big cushion. Yes, he did miss it by about a half a foot. However, remember, he still had a 9-second gap. He's now off the jacks and away. So the gap, even though he lost potentially about half a second from that, it's not going to hurt him because he's the first out of the pits by still 7 seconds.
Yeah, Zelensky is away now and running. 7 seconds is the gap, as you mentioned. The pit stop time 3 seconds quicker for Bobby Zelensky. So it cost him 3 seconds with that one little mistake. Just goes to show, even if you've got that big gap at the front, you've got to be careful because you can end up losing position.
Yeah, especially if, say, you end up missing it by a ton, then your engine, say, stalls. Then you have to try and reverse, etc., etc. That could have been a disaster if that was to happen. Instead, we keep on chugging along as you look along with Andrew Caron. +4, the most spots gained in the entire race from the drop of the green flag today. And it's looking to gain at least one more on Marta Capol after the pit stops.
I think we all know who the hard charger is now, by the way.
Yes.
That's probably Zelensky here in this one. Because, of course, it's not, as you explained so eloquently at the start of the broadcast, it's not just as to where your qualifying position is, it's if you drop back, how many positions you then regain. And considering that Bob Zelensky was all the way back to, the back of the field, bar one driver, so he's back down to 11th place. But the second, that's not a bad going, as Eric Blixt, with 4-lap younger tyres than James King, is putting pressure on King.
Blick's trying to take advantage of the tires. Gets the brakes early, in fact, compared to King. As both the drivers take turns 13 and 14 very softly compared to how a lot of the drivers were taking them in practice and qualifying. Look on board now with Blick's on front just above the windshield as they go through turn 1. Kane Hollow able to save it though into turn number 2. Still back and forth. It goes the rear end. Goes right by is Eric Blixt.
Yeah, and you look at how that one mistake into 1 then exacerbates into 2. It compromised his exit because he was on the wrong line, gets on the dirt and the rubbish, and just couldn't get the power down. And those fresher tyres from Eric Blixt will have helped him in that as well. And that's Blixt back up to 3rd place now as he gives it a nice tail slide out of the chicane there.
And while the track temp has dropped a lot since the start of today, it's down to 85 degrees Fahrenheit for reference sake. A lot of these drivers, they're having to deal with a lot more rubber. Here's Chase Berry on some fresh tires, trying to attack Danny Solo. Solo on some of the oldest tires in the race. Able to defend, though, for the time being as they work their way through turns 3 and 4 and head towards 5.
It's great to be able to show the Buck Jones Racing driver, Chase Berry, here. We don't often get to see him much on the broadcast, so it's great to be able to focus on him and in a battle here with Danny Solo. He locks up the brakes, has to take to the grass, and again just goes to show how easy it is to make mistakes around here.
Yeah, it's a challenging track for a reason. While challenging, of course, is talked about, it's also one that drivers like to have fun on because it's kind of one of those. While it's also a rhythm track, it's also one that can challenge drivers such as that if you don't have a complete rhythm in, and in a lot of cases led to a lot of crazy finishes in real life.
Oh, it has, and you know, some of the most exciting races ever. Well, because I know about Formula 1, I grew up with Formula 1. Some of the most exciting races ever in that sport is from this very particular venue. So, you know, it's got history as this venue. It's a great circuit. The drivers love coming here. I love racing around it, even though I'm not that quick around here. So it is a true driver's track here, and it's a challenge. And that's what the drivers have, a challenge behind these trucks. Barry, I think Barry, what he's struggling a little bit here with is consistency as Solo rubs the wall there at the side, but yeah, Barry just doesn't have that consistency to be able to mount a serious challenge here to Dennis Solo.
His fastest lap in the race is actually slower than his practice and qualifying times, where he's in the 139s. And he's now running the 142s for reference's sake. So Barry, despite the fresher tires, is just running barely even pace to Danny Solo right now for 10th position, with coming to 5 laps to go for them this time. By as Barry has to save it. Able to keep it out of the grass, though, as well as away from that inside wall as they work towards turn 10.
But the thing is, he's getting experience in the truck. I think a lot of it is to do with experience in this truck. I struggled at a lot in these trucks last year. As I say, when I did those 2 races at Indianapolis and also at Bathurst as well. So it's not something that you can just jump in and drive and instantly be quick in. It does take a lot of practice and a lot of seat time. And the more that Chase is able to race this truck and to be involved in battles with someone like Danny Solo, who's been involved in the series for a little while now, this will do him good for the long term in the future.
Absolutely. Again, we're in the final few rounds of 2019. And with experience, you get more and more successful. Cameron, someone with 3 years of experience now in this series, is still in the lead while he's slipping and sliding. He's been doing so while gaining time still on Zelensky. 7/10 quicker last time by. Is still now up by 9.5 seconds. That's 2 seconds more than he had when he came out of the pit lane, as you look at the times at the bottom side of your screen.
Oh, really classes that curve there. It almost sent him into the wall of champions that time. So Sven, he's pushing the boundaries, even though he's got such a commanding lead here. it's obviously he's in that rhythm. He's in that feel that he's got for the circuit. And once you get in that rhythm, you don't want to let up. You don't want to slow down, because you can lose that rhythm. You end up in a wall around here.
Yeah, you don't want to end up in the fence. That's a very, very obvious thing to think about here, because if you hit the fence, you potentially might not have a truck anymore. As Cameron still works his way around. By the way, he was still now half a second quicker last time by, while James King is getting reeled in and fast by the fresher tires of Martin Capal all of a sudden. 1 second back is Capal, 138 compared to 139 from King last time by in time.
Yeah, King 8 laps on those tyres, Capal 6 laps. But behind though, Andrew Caron, he is 4 laps on his tyres. So Andrew Caron, I wouldn't count him out of this one yet. The man who started in 10th place says potentially for battling for 5th in this race, maybe even 4th.
Yeah, you mentioned that Caron was actually a second quicker than Capal and 2 seconds quicker than King last time by. So there's a chance these drivers all could potentially swap some spots here if they can reel in one another. Again, the gap between them is not too close, but it's getting reeled in quickly from the loose conditions for King. Meanwhile, behind them, Chase Berry has made a pass on Danny Solo after Solo lost 4 seconds last time by.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens here. So it's through turns 1 and 2. Barry gets a good run. He was. I could see on the timing screen that he was getting closer to Danny Solo. We're going to stick with this replay because we can do a 3 to go in this race, and it's across the grass. The Solo has done what Slavinik did earlier on. Went across the grass there at the chicane, ran out wide through the right-hander there, and that allowed Chase Berry to move ahead. As those two still are battling at the hairpin.
Yeah, well, Barry has the fresher tires. Solo has had a lot of the experience. He's trying to get a run, pokes towards the left side of the racetrack, underneath the Dodge billboards into 13 and 14, but not close enough to make the move. They still have about 2.5, 3 laps to go this time by, though, to try and settle things out. The next position up for them is about 13 seconds back. But Solo wants that spot back. Dives to the inside of turn 1. Danny Solo cuts off the bottom side, takes away the run from Chase Berry coming into 2.
Yeah, he did, and he got such a good run.
Oh, trouble, Danny Solo. Solo has crashed to one of the Napa billboards. Had that tech issue might have just noticed in turn 2. When he popped back on the racetrack, he lost the back tires and slammed into the inside wall and ended up losing that spot. In front of them, though, Kane on the inside, Capal on the outside at turn 10, shoves them off as they get loose. Andrew Caron takes 5th spot away.
Yeah, Caron get it again. The third man in that queue, getting the better run out of the hairpin. Okay, Caron only got 1 spot compared to Bob Zelensky getting into 2 that time. But I tell you what, these two, they are definitely putting on, these 3, sorry, they're definitely putting on a really good show for us here with 2 to go in this race. Sven, he's way out in front. This is where the action is right now. And I tell you what, Caron, I wouldn't count him out of getting a 4th place here.
I wouldn't so either right now. You've seen that line into turn 1. Kane's trying to run the defensive line. Knows that drivers on fresher tires are starting to stack up behind. Look on board the RSR Esports machine of Andrew Caron as they work their way out of turn number 4. Scraping the wall that time as Kane bringing up the sparks. As now he tries to go on the pounce. His next best chance to make the pass, though, isn't all the way until turn 10. Needs to be in the spot, though, to make the dive.
Yeah, he does. You need to be right under there. You can see how much King is struggling getting the power down. And maybe forget about the hairpin. Go for it underneath the bridge here. No, back out of that. There's only really 1 line into here, but put the pressure on. Look at King. He's really struggling with that truck. Get it on the exit of that one and get alongside Caron. Get the cutback out the hairpin. You've got the better friction rubber. You can get the power better. So get the cutback here. Don't try and sling it all the way around the outside because you're going to leave the door open. That's exactly what's happened for Capal as the white flag is out for your race leader. These 3 still battling on.
Kammert's taking the white flag along with Bobby Zelensky up front. That gap, though, between these drivers, 33 seconds. Side by side is the battle for fifth rather. It is currently on the inside, Kapal. On the outside, Karen. Kapal outbreaks Andrew Karen as they go past the wall with champions. They have an extra 2+ miles to work around the racetrack, while Kane tries to run the defensive line on older tires for Simplex Racing.
This is great racing, and I know we're going to have to break away from it very shortly, but what a display that these three are showing on. It shows how the tyre strategy works out in the series. It's fantastic action, and these three, they're not giving up here, and Kapal is putting the pressure on King again. King is really struggling as into the wall he goes again.
Kane scrapes the wall a second time. Inside, Kapal taps the outside Armco. Loses the spot to Karen. Karen tries to send it in hard. Forced to check up, though, as they worked away out of 6 and 7.
Yeah, this one isn't over yet. And I'm afraid, I bet we'll have to look at this one back on the replay very shortly. We'll stick with it as long as we can. But your leader is coming into the final chicane, so we'll have to look at your race leader, who gets it all crossed up.
Sven Kammers has been dominant from the top of the green flag today. He'll win round number 9 of the V8 SuperTrucks World Championship from Circuit Villeneuve. Second, Bobby Zelensky. Third, 23 seconds back, Eric Blixt. As all those drivers crossing the stripe, while fourth has been active. Karen tried to attack King. King squeezed him off the racing line. One more chance for James King to defend. Stays on the right side. Can he hold on to the final chicane for a top 4 position? Karen tries to break in early, tries to get the run off the corner, gets the run off the corner, side by side with King. It's a drag race for 4th spot. King gets through the gears, Karen through the gears. Kane holds on for 4th spot. Andrew Karen rounds out the top 5 with Monica Paul coming away with 6th.
That was an incredible end to the race. Aaron Smith II, we didn't notice this. He almost ended up in swapping positions with Thomas O'Leary, who ends up in 7th place out of all this in this race. But wow, what an end to that battle there. I know it wasn't really that close up front, but my goodness, that battle for 4th place was absolutely sensational.
Last of the drivers getting ready to cross the stripe. Chase Berry, I believe, is already done for the race. It appears he had to go in again just before the white flag after a potential incident. Danny Solo, though, will come away with the top 10 with the car that looks like it ran more at Martinsville than it did at Cirque Villeneuve. It was actually, in fact, scraping the wall with that right side tire before taking that checker flag the past couple laps.
It was, and well, that's a lot, but what an end. And well, I tell you what, that shows how strategy can come into play in this series, and it produced a fantastic end to the race here.
Sven Kammers will get to celebrate the victory today for round number 9. Let's take a look at your full race results. The Radicals Online Turn Racing Machine took the checker over Bobby Zelensky by 9+ seconds. One of his most dominant, if not the most dominant, race victory for Kammers on his championship pursuit in 2019. Eric Blixt rounded out the podium in 3rd with James King in 4th. Andrew Karen finished in 5th with Martic Paul, Thomas O'Leary, Aaron Smith II, Paul Sylvanik, and Danny Solo all finishing off the race inside the top 10. 2 DNFs though. Chase Berry crashed with 2 laps down, while Stephen Dager Jr. didn't even make the full first lap. 22 laps down is the situation for the machine in the number 63 truck. So that's the look of the results today for round number 9. V8 SuperTrucks World Championship. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have post-race coverage here on RaceSpot TV and Sox Out Racing. You're watching the V8 SuperTrucks World Championship from Circuit Villeneuve in beautiful Montreal, Quebec. Pure domination. There's no other way to put it. Sven Kammert's dominated today here at the Cirque du Villeneuve for round number 9 of the V8 SuperTrucks World Championship here on RaceSpot TV and Sox Out Racing. Justin Prince alongside Paul Smith here for post-race coverage from beautiful Montreal, Quebec. It was a heck of a race today, and again a heck of a dominating performance for the driver for Radicals Online Turn Racing. We'll see if we can join him in victory lane as he'll look to celebrate a dominating one by just about 9+ seconds. It is Sven Kammerts who took the checker flag and will now join us here in the RaceSpot TV booth. Sven, pure domination today. How do you feel? Sven Kammerts, do you have a copy? And it looks like our race winner currently dealing with an audio technical issue. We apologize for that. We'll see one more time. Sven, do you have a copy? And it looks like, unfortunately, a technical issue for a race winner. We'll get to him as soon as we can. However, I believe we also have second place. That is also just so happened to be our hard charger just standing by. That driver, specifically, is Bobby Zelensky. He joins us here in the RaceSpot TV booth. Bobby, do you have a copy?
Yo.
Bobby, you had a roller coaster of a race. You started from the outside front row, had contact after you took the early start that sent you all the way back to 10th position, charged up to 6th, fell back to 10th after a second caution flag you were involved in, then charged back all the way to 2nd spot, which, of course, earned you the Hard Charger Award, as well as the second step on the podium. How would you describe your race after what seems, at least to us, a crazy one?
Well, it's for sure a roller coaster. I really didn't have high hopes coming into this race. I knew Sven would be the fastest guy just because literally kind of just got done doing the GT World Championship, and I still haven't got a good handle on these trucks, just haven't had the time to really beat it down. It seems like every time I really get my stride going, they change something in the build. But so I knew coming in, just with how I felt driving the truck, I was like, this does not feel like a winning day. And went into qualifying, got smoked by about 4/10 almost by Sven. So I was like, well, maybe we could win this, but Sven needs to mess up or something needs to go my way. And then on the start there, I was able to get a better start, and I got it to lead, and then we got turned around, and it's just unfortunate. So yeah, we went to the back, and I was coming up the field, and just really sorry about the thing that happened with Paul, because that wasn't me trying to go for a pass. It was I actually broke early, and I was actually just holding the brakes going into the corner because those guys were side by side ahead of me, and he checked up entry to kind of maybe do an undercut on him or something. Anyway, I was still on the brakes, and there was a little netcode there, and then we had that little netcode contact, and it kind of put him in a half spin, and I just hit the brakes to kind of lessen the damage and stalled the truck, and so I ended up getting the worst of it, honestly. But it just seemed like a weird little dumb racing deal between me and him where I wasn't even trying to pass him. I was just kind of sitting there, and I had to come from the back again, and I had to make sure I didn't hit anybody the next time. And it was a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun when there's no way I'm going to be able to catch Sven. I can't pass 9 cars and then be a second faster lap to catch him. So you just try to have fun with it, brawl a little with people, and it's fun getting back up to second for sure.
Just out of curiosity, you mentioned, of course, taking part in the World Championship event just before this. How many practice laps total did you have again?
Oh, I don't know, but it obviously wasn't a lot. Obviously, I do have experience in trucks here. It's a different build. And I do have these setup issues right now. For example, in the race, there was a couple corners where my splitter was hitting the ground, and I was trying to fix that right before we went green. It was after qualifying. I was trying to fix it. But there was no way I couldn't fix it. So I think if I had a couple of those corners fixed, I would have been kind of better off. But I think with how the race went and just getting turned and being in the back, I don't think, even if I had my setup together, my driving together, I wouldn't have been able to catch 10 seconds up to Sven. So, yeah, it's on me though. Sven honestly deserves this championship a lot. We're still in the fight for sure. If we win these next 3 races, I think we can get him, but that's pretty hard to do. But I think he definitely deserves it with his efforts and his skill this year. So If we don't win it, it's not a huge deal.
Next race on the schedule will see the drivers, including yourself, head towards Mid-Ohio for a retro super sprint race. 28 laps the distance on the 2.25-mile road course there. Your thoughts on heading over to Mid-Ohio in a truck rather than, say, an Xfinity car?
Well, I for sure like it because last year we went there and I was able to get the win over Marco and Sven. So I don't know exactly when the date is. I know there's a lot of time. The problem is right now, Justin, is it is a very busy time of the year for me with the playoffs coming in NASCAR, Peak Free Series, and the last kind of rounds of each Road World Championship. I haven't had the best of seasons. I just need to make sure I get a couple good results in those series to make sure I'm of the cut line to stay in those series. But I'm going to try to do my best to give Sven a fight for this. He ain't going to get away with this easy. I need to give him a good old fight, and we're going to try to do that for Mid-Ohio.
The date is September the 7th, for reference sake, but you seem very motivated. Is there anyone you want to thank for being a part of your second place finish today, though, who was a part of your effort to try and chase down Cammerts for the championship in the final couple rounds?
Yeah, I got to thank Coanda SimSport, obviously, and Virtual Racing School. Dave unfortunately couldn't make it today, but we're going to, hopefully give it to him in the last 3 rounds. Get Dave up there and get us hopefully both on the podium and a couple of these races to get our team's championship points a little better. But yeah, really just them, and thanks for everyone at SOR and you guys for putting on the broadcast and the racing.
Congratulations on the second place and the Hard Charger Awards. You get $5 US in credits for iRacing. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Bobby Zelensky coming away in second today. And we'll see if we can catch up with the race winner now, Sven Cammerts. He's going to be standing by with Paul Smith.
Hopefully the technical issues are solved. Sven, do you read us here?
Apparently, no is the answer.
When there's one of those days where just things seem to fail. So, just to let you in on a little bit of a secret here, when we tried to speak to Sven originally, our graphics package went and failed on me. So I was trying to fix that whilst you were talking to Bobby. But hopefully, he's got no audio, has Sven. He's trying. So We'll hopefully try and get him fixed there, but let's bring in Eric Blixt instead. Third place driver in this race, Eric, and talk us through your race because your teammate Martin Kapal was trying his best to have you lose that position.
Yeah, he got a pretty good start on me, so I didn't really have a choice to block him off completely, so we just try to stay clean and not take each other out in the first laps.
Well, that's it. The starts on the restart and also on both the restarts, Martin was really pushing you. The second restart, he decided to hang back, but anyway, you then ended up in third place, and you were in a little bit of that no man's land, weren't you? Where you weren't on the pace of Sven, you couldn't really keep Bobby behind you when he did come through, but you still ended up on the podium here today.
Yeah, I didn't know if we would have pace for this week, so it showed that we didn't have really any pace to keep up, so I decided to keep it safe and not tangle up with Bobby, let him have his race, and just have a strong position for the team championship.
Well, this is it, because you look at the results, it was yourself third and Martin Kapali, teammate, in sixth place. That's really good points for the team then. How are you feeling for the end of the season here?
Yeah, I hope it's gonna end the way we've been going so far. I will miss out in one round, so we'll have to see how my points stand up, but yeah, if we can keep going this way, it's looking pretty good.
Well, Eric, before we do let you step aside, who do you want to give a quick mention to here on the broadcast?
I'll thank Martin for hooking me up with a skin a few hours before we had to turn him in.
Well, thank you very much, Eric, and all the best for Mid-Ohio at the start of September.
Thanks.
That was Eric Blixt, who came away third today. And we're hearing that our race winner, Sven Kammertz, now has his audio sorted together. And he's now in the broadcast booth with us here. Sven Kammertz, you dominated today, to say the very least. 9+ second victory, fastest car in practice qualifying, and in race pace, a full second quicker at some point. How did you do it?
I had my practice in, but overall, I'm not 100% pleased with the victory today, since it's already was now the third time I made contact with Bobby this season. So, I mean, he was very kind to me during his interview to me that I deserved the championship and whatever. But it's not the way I want to win it by punting people off all the time. So, but yeah, for today, I did my laps, which obviously Bobby did not manage to do, even though we could have had a good fight. The instant kind of messed all of that up as well, so it was just a matter of running laps by myself again. So
yeah, it looked like you were even despite the contact there, was in a good sense of rhythm. How was the truck feeling, in your opinion, to be able to take the corners as quick as you were, to be able to pick up that extra second even on Zelensky a lap, to be the only driver really to be able to record times in the 135s, or in the mid-run in some cases, the 136s?
Yeah, all of that is thanks to Dallas. He already made a few excellent setup changes since we had the last truck update, and even for this race, even though Dallas could not make it today, he still managed to put in some time to adjust the setup to suit the track, and it just did what it was supposed to do. It was not great. We had the things we could not do, certain curbs that we could not touch at all, but on other curbs, we could just go for it lap after lap every time. And since I did so many laps of practice, I was just so comfortable in the final chicane and things like that, just to put the truck up on two wheels and not have any issues with the way it landed and things like that. So, but a big thank you for Dallas for that.
And of course, the championship heading to the final 3 rounds of the season. And with this victory, your championship points lead will grow a little bit more. In Europe, Zelensky felt he had to win every single race to be able to take the championship away. What's it going to take, in your opinion, to be able to seal things up from your perspective as the points leader to make sure, say, a hard-charging Zelensky doesn't try and take that away?
Well, there's still a lot that could happen, basically. So we saw last season as well that even in the final race, one mistake can easily lose you 50 points or more. So it's still, anything can still happen. It's not that I really need to continuously win if I want to be sure to have a little bit of a safe margin for the final race, I suppose. But yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. It's definitely not over.
Absolutely. Here, next race is up at Mid-Ohio. Zelensky already talked about with us a little bit about some of the excitement from last year's race in Mid-Ohio. Your perspective going to Mid-Ohio once again for 2019 for the third to last round of the season.
Not my absolute favorite track, but it was good fun driving the trucks around there last year. So it should be interesting. With seeing that the pace that Bobby had last season, I'm not sure I'll be able to catch him there at Mid-Ohio, but I should still be able to get a good result in nonetheless.
Is there anyone you want to thank for being a part of your victory here today, Sven?
Well, big thanks to Dallas and Thomas for the setup and for the help in practice. For the rest, I would like to thank our sponsors, Cranfield Simulations, Joe Real Timing, Arma Centrum, Astor Sim Race, the My Opinion There for Fact podcast, Turn Racing, Seamortal, and Six Side Race. And thanks to Pixel as well for the new paints, as well as you guys for the broadcast and Stocks Out Racing for the league.
Thank you very much for the time. Congratulations. It's your 5th victory in 2019's Sven. Go and celebrate.
Thank you.
Sven Kammertz with his 5th win of the season, and what has been a strong one. Standing by, though, with the man who came away in 4th, and someone that was holding on and hoping to not die while trying. James Kane, also with the new team, mind you, today is standing by with Paul Smith.
Yeah, absolutely. And, well, I mean, we saw the tale of of old tyres versus new tyres towards the end of the race there, James. It got a little bit intense for you towards the end, but definitely though, it was exciting, and you just got it at the end there.
Oh, absolutely. That was, without a doubt, the best race I've had in SOR. Holding on for those last few laps while watching them close in on me. I thought there were a couple of times where I thought, that was it, they were gone. And somehow I managed to keep the position. But yeah, I'm still sweating now.
Well, I'm not surprised, really, because we saw on those last few laps there how much you were having to wrestle with the truck there on those old tyres. Just to explain to people at home, how difficult is it to handle these trucks, especially when the tyres are going old, considering that you've got quite a bit of experience now in these trucks?
Yeah, I mean, I've been driving these things for a couple of seasons now. And it seems to have got harder rather than easier, especially with all the new weather changes and things like that. It makes it so much more unpredictable. And now, with the way these trucks drive, you have to run them pretty loose, so that doesn't help either. But yeah, once the tyres are gone in this, that's why normally you'll tend to see everyone come in at half distance and try and balance it out a bit. But obviously, with this race, with the cautions at the start, people came in a bit later. I stuck to the original plan and came in earlier, got the undercut, which put me ahead of Eric for a little while. But yeah, that was a position I was never going to hold. And then, it was just hoping and praying that I'd be able to keep my speed up by the end.
Absolutely, but three races to go then in this championship. Mid Ohio's next, but how have you found the championship going into these final few races?
Well, compared to when I first joined SOR, I'm a bit slower compared to everyone else. It feels like, but yeah, this season has been it's definitely been ups and downs, but going into the last couple of races, this is a great way to start that.
Absolutely. Well, James, thank you very much for joining us from Simplex Racing, of course. Now, for yourself, all the best and have a good evening.
Yeah, thank you very much.
That was James King coming away in 4th position. And what was a strong performance from him. I believe we have one more driver standing by. We'll have a couple quick words. And this is the driver that was a part, mind you, with that intense 4th place battle here Martin Kapal for Lempos Racing with the 6th place finish today. Martin, an intense battle for that 4th position coming down to the final lap. Talk us through, from your perspective, how everything was all shaking out between you, Karen, and Kane, with different spreading of tire wear.
Oh yes, I enjoyed that battle a lot. In the beginning of the second stint, I was surprised how King got it way ahead of me. He must have had a good pit stop and everything. So I was like, okay, I need to catch him up. And then I was a bit faster than him because of the later pit stop. But then Karen was catching up to me, so I thought, okay, this is going to be a battle. And yeah, it was great. Even though I finished in 6th place, made a few mistakes there, but I enjoyed it in the end, which is most important.
How difficult was the track as the race progressed and as the rubber settled down? Because as the track temp went down, a lot more trucks were starting to get more and more slippery off these corner exits compared to when we dropped the green flag in the mid-run of the first stint.
Yeah, I wasn't struggling as much as others, I think, especially when I was behind King. He struggled a lot with sliding tires, but I tried to not to apply too much throttle to spin out, but it's just those new trucks overall that handle differently, and you need to approach them a bit more carefully overall.
Why do you feel you have to approach them more carefully? Again, it's been about a round or two that you've had the experience. Again, this is what the MLR spec engine essentially, as well as some of the adjustments suspension-wise, drafting package-wise, so to speak, a little bit with these trucks. Why do you feel that there's been what kind of differences? First off, are there the differences in the driving, and why do you feel that difference is?
Compared to the old package, it's the way it behaves. It just snaps oversteers quite rapidly, and you really need to be careful on your throttle way out of the corners. And even though you're on low revs, it's got a lower limiter as well, or rev limiter. It still has a lot of torque, and you really need to be careful on the throttle not to ruin the tires and be quick.
Now we're heading to Mid-Ohio, first time with that said engine that has the 7,500 max RPMs in each, the gearing essentially. It was a thrower of a race last season. What's your opinion on what we might see here at Mid-Ohio in the next month on September the 7th?
Yeah, I was watching that race since I wasn't able to race in that one, but it looked really interesting. So I hope it will provide some good battles this year as well, and looking forward to the rest of the season.
Is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go here today to be a part of your top half of the field finish?
Thanks to everyone who participated in this race, and also especially King and Karen, who we had a nice battle with, and of course Eric Blixt, who we did some preparations, practice, and some nice internal battles as well. So thank you.
Congratulations on 6th place finish today, A. Martin. Martin Paul with 6th place today gets in the top half of the field. And Paul, before we say goodbye, your quick final thoughts before we head off to the sunset and skip our way towards Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, 2 early cautions affected the strategy of these drivers with their tyres, and we saw how those different tyre lives really did come into play, especially in the battle between Dennis Hill and Chase Barry, but further down the field, but also that battle for 4th, 5th and 6th place as well. We saw how those three were able to battle it out with the mixture of old and new tyres. But I have to say, hats off Sven. He was quicker in qualifying, he was a lot quicker in practice, and then he comes out with a massive win here, and it's a good way to start these final few rounds.
Absolutely. The next round, as mentioned, is at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course for the one and only Retro Super Sprint round on the schedule. That'll be 28 laps distance on September the 7th. You can see that once again here on RaceSpot TV and Sox Out Racing. But for Paul Smith and for our camera producer today and TrackCams22.com's Esteban Balru, I'm Justin Prince saying so long, and thank you for tuning in for today's action from Circuit Joe Villeneuve. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you for round number 10 in Ohio. All right. That one really good.